Let me just see if I can. Hey guys, let me just adjust my what am I doing here? It's my little laptopy here, just so I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit better. I just getting my laptop sorted out here, guys. I'll just pop that over there. Okay. Oh, and everything over here. I'm just sorting everything out. Okay, while I'm here, what I thought I might show you is just I sit my laptop on books. I love my books. So just first of all, a very warm welcome to all our new members, and hello, good morning if you're in Australia. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is our weekly Q&A. If you haven't met me before, I'm Karen. I'm the founder of this Facebook group here. I'm an off-the-track thoroughbred retrainer, and I specialise in retraining off-the-track thoroughbreds using compassionate training and holistic rehabilitation. So just a little bit of a introduction of me. And I have 19 of my own horses, 17 off-the-track thoroughbreds. So there you go. I'm just doing, the sun's coming through the blinds here, so hopefully that's not affecting anything. So I'm just getting myself organized. Sorry, I'm a little bit late this morning. Sunday morning. I actually had a bit of a sleep in. And made my coffee. I'm just organizing myself here because I sit my laptop on some books, but I'm just taking one of my books out, and I just thought I'd show you while I'm putting it back, because I'm a bit of an avid reader, love my study, and I just thought I'd show you this one because it's really, I've been looking at, is this the one for saddle fit? This one. I mean, I love equitation science. I'm always talking about and I'm studying the diploma as well as have been doing equitation science for many years, but there's some wonderful other trainers and books out there that work with complementary with equitation science, and this one is Tug of War, Classical versus Modern Dressage. Dr. I might not be pronouncing his name right, Gerd Hushman. Really good. Looking at the hyperflexion overbent frame that is a little bit a lot more popular in modern dressage and training nowadays compared to our classical the classical dressage trainers. So it's basically saying in the title here, Tug of War, Classical versus Modern Dressage. I do not like forced outlines. I don't use and I don't recommend or teach using side reins. What do they call them? I'm having a mental blank. Side reins, draw reins. I was just thinking, sort of artificial aids to force the horse in an outline. It affects them physiologically. It's never going to. And it was a fantastic. I'm going to read this quote out because I loved it, and I will post it in the Facebook group. But it is. Here's some images. Sorry, I'm a bit random today, guys. Sunday morning. It's just such an excellent book because it shows the upper contraction system, the ligament system of the cervical spine. And so if you're wanting a book to read, this is, or I think you can probably download it. I think I did actually download it as an ebook as well because it's so handy to have them on your laptop. But it's wonderful information in here. And if you do use side reins, or you're thinking, this is horrible, I've seen this image of this an overflexed neck position we used to train this pony stallion. Look at that, guys. Now, you can see, I don't know if it's backwards, but you can see how painful it would be. So part of my retraining of off-the-track thoroughbreds is I do not use a fixed head you know, side reins or anything, that to put them in a fixed head and neck position. The head and neck position come from correct training, teaching them to use their body correctly and teaching them to carry themselves in a healthy posture. It takes some time. It really does. If you have a look at the video I posted up yesterday of Ty, who's a client's horse that I have in for retraining at the moment. He's starting to carry himself really nicely. It's not consistent. He does come and go, and he's also, you know, like throughout the retraining process, it's quite a lot of, oh, my phone's buzzing here. I get so used to, the phone going off that I forget it's buzzing. So I've just turned it on silent. All my messages coming through. Notifications, I should say. With Ty, so no barkies. I think there's a mouse in the house in there. Hey, guys, come on. No barkies. I'm doing a live. If you don't know me, I always have dogs in the video barking or in the video in my lives and that. I have my 6 little dogs with me here. What was I saying? Oh, yes, Ty. So there's been some, you know, hurdles to get over. It's not uncommon. I know that they're lovely. He's got a lovely family. The clients are lovely. They're just lovely, lovely people. His rider is young Kalia, a 13-year-old girl. And they've been so incredibly patient with him, which is wonderful because I've spent the time to rehabilitate him physically. And even though he's a very quiet horse, there's still psychological rehabilitation because he's had a very extensive race career. He's been through a lot, and his personality is that he will, if anything, he's probably gone into a little bit of learned helplessness. So he doesn't show any conflict behaviors like rearing, bucking. He did jack up, and that he would not want to, you know, go back and turn to the fence. So his go-to behavior is if his young rider wants to take him, or when I started riding him, you know, ride him up to the end of the arena, he would turn around and go back to the fence, things like that. But he doesn't show any other adverse, you know, behaviors such as your rearing or your pig rooting or, you know, bucking or anything like that, which can often, you know, show in off the track thoroughbreds. From their racing history, it could be physical, could be pain, it could be your associations, you know, with confusion in their training, which is very often the case. Conflict behaviors come from confusion in training and not understanding what's being asked of them. But I am going off on a little bit of a tangent there. I just wanted to talk about how to get the correct head and neck position. Doesn't come from actually forcing them into an outline. It comes from correct retraining of the basic responses, teaching them to carry themselves in a healthy posture, and also developing that physical strength. So we have to change their musculature system from how they've used their body in racing, being on the forehand and leaning into the bit, to then learning to carry themselves in more of a, you know, in self-carriage and having more weight put on their hind end. Once again, there's physical rehabilitation quite often involved with that because of the, you know, in racing, there's quite often a lot of issues that may happen in their sacroiliac joint. There's a lot of stress put on their skeletal system in racing. They start very young. So this is where body workers, they may have kissing spine. So getting a good vet assessment of them, if you need to get some x-rays to go through and make sure there's no kissing spine, if you're having problems such as pig rooting, things like that, if they don't want to use their hind end. So quite often there may be some sacroiliac problems if they're not wanting to, you know, engage and use their hind end as you progress through their training, and then you start to develop some fitness and that. So that's all part of the head and neck carriage. So I just wanted to share this book because I love it. I love so many of my books. I don't have enough time. I have to wake up halfway through the night to read all the, oh, here we go. This is an interest. Oh, where was it? It's a really good one. It's like how the head and neck are connected all the way through to the tail. And if we can press the head and neck, where was it? It was really good. And then I just saw it. I might have to come back to it. Anyway, I'll share another. I've got some Zoom sessions coming up in our new group, so I'll share all that in the new group. It's going to be really good. I'm very excited. I'll talk about this today as well. Oh, here we go. Okay. This is very exaggerated, this poor horse, but this is draw reins, so I don't know if you can see it, but I've had to, I haven't had to, but I have ridden in draw reins on the race course. There was a trainer, I used a couple of trainers that have used draw reins. I actually said I won't, that's draw reins. I mean, that's very overbent there. They don't always look that overbent in draw reins, but it still has a very negative effect on the horse as well, being physiologically and psychologically. I don't like draw reins at all, particularly riding race horses. I mean, they're bad on any horse from my personal opinion, but riding race horses, actually you lose control of them. So because the draw reins put pressure on their pole and they bring them into a hyperflexion, so you lose the control of the bit. You can't talk to them with the bit in their mouth. And so riding a racehorse, going around a track, and it was not, I don't like it at all. It was not much fun, and I would say, look, I'm fine without draw reins. Don't like them. Okay, so I'm just having another sip of my coffee here. So I have a question. So if you have any questions, you're popping on live and you have any questions, this is where you can ask me anything to do with the course, the group, your Off the Track Thoroughbred training, feed, anything you can ask in our weekly Q&A here in the group. If you can't make it live, you can pop a question underneath. Anytime in the group you can pop a question. If you want to put a post up and say, look, I've got a question for next week's Q&A, I always put a reminder up the day before of our Q&A, and you can put your question there. And I'll talk about our other group as well, the other platform where you can also ask questions there. So while I'm doing the live here today, if you pop on live, also too, if you can't make the live, you can give me your question beforehand. As I mentioned, you can pop it up in the reminder and I'll answer it for you, and there'll be a replay straight afterwards. Guys, come on, Minnie. Man, always dogs barking. Okay, so I had a question from Laura Zamet. Hey Laura, I know you can't make the live, but I told you that I'll answer your question in this live, and also too, I did put a post up saying if you can get me a video of the issue that you're having, and we can go through the video as well, and look at what's happening. Minnie, come on. Men, just trying to keep my puppies quiet here. So I'm going to go to Laura's question now. No, if I can. Oh, where am I? Here we go. I was back in. No, I'm not. I've just got my phone here, so I'll pop Laura's question up. Okay. Having a, there we go. My groups. No barkies, guys. Holy moly, so sorry guys. Every time seriously? Okay, guys, sit down now. I sound like a cranky mum. Ruby, Chrissy, come here. Now sit down. Okay, a particularly barky Q&A today. So Laura had a question. Oh my gosh, guys. Suki, come inside. So what happens when you have 6 dogs? Come on, come inside. I had to sleep with a drumstick. Seriously, guys, I had to sleep with it. I didn't have to, but I did. My little dog Minnie, they get drumsticks at night time, and for some reason she had the end of the drumstick left over, and she was walking around in the mouth. They got their dinner about 8 o'clock, and she would not eat it. She just had it in her mouth. She's a bit like that. She likes to just protect her feed, but she held it in her mouth for nearly 24 hours, and she sleeps in the bed with me underneath the doona, and she would not let it go. She got quite distressed when I tried to take it off her. So I had to sleep with a drumstick in the bed. Like, that's how sport you are, guys. It's disgusting. I'll just introduce you to little Minnie here. Come here, Minnie. Oh, gosh. Oh, Minnie. Stop it, guys. You're driving me a bit crazy this morning. So there's Minnie. So Minnie, I know. Hello, my Minnie. So Minnie was obsessed with her drumstick, and she sleeps underneath the doona with me every night next to me. Sometimes she sleeps on the pillow next to me. We have to share the bed with quite a few dogs, don't we? Hey? Yeah. And she had her drumstick for nearly 24 hours. She didn't eat it till she carried it in her mouth until about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It was crazy. I don't know why she wouldn't eat the remaining bit of the drumstick, but anyway, that's what happens when you love your puppies, isn't it? My ex would be horrified. He didn't like dogs in the bed. He didn't have much choice, but that was it. I only had one dog back then. So, going back to Laura's question, I'm unable to make the live, but would love to ask about a current struggle with my OTTB mare. I'm still training the stop and go response, which is our equitation science, stop and go in hand. But she's being very cheeky now and not letting me put her halter on. As soon as I try to stand next to her, she backs up calmly, but very purposely, so I can't put the halter on. She will also block me with her head and walking left and right, so I'm unable to stand beside her. I'm always very calm in my manner, positive and kind, which she does take advantage of. If this not sure if that is the problem, as she knows I have treats and tries to eat them out of my pocket. The adjustment owner is going to try today and see how she responds to her. I have had success when I have been able to get the halter on. She responds really well once the halter is on. Thanks so much, Laura. Okay, so it would be really good to have a video, Laura, of what's happening. I do know what most probably is happening here, but I would love to be able to break it down with you in a video. And we can do that, and we can go through that in the other group, because I've got a little section where you can upload the video, and then I can do a voiceover on it for you and show exactly what's happening, because I know myself, I'm very much a visual learner. I love videos. I know not everybody is, but yeah, I love videos, so I love to do lives, videos and Q&As and all of that. So if that helps, if you can get a video, someone filming you while this is happening, that would be really, really good. So it's great that you're doing your stop and go, and it's really good that you're calm. So you being calm and positive and kind is definitely not an issue. It's not to do with that. And it's really good that you have, once you've got the halter on, she's responding really well once the halter is on. So it's really good to be able to break things down when you're having problems. It's really good to put them in little bite-sized sections and see what's happening. And once again, this would be great with a video, because I can do a voiceover on it and have a look at what's happening, because horses learn by association. So there's things that you're doing in this process that your mare is associating, is learning from, to reinforce her stepping back. Also too, just the fact that she is stepping back is a sign that her park response isn't consolidated. So that's her stop response. So I've got, I don't think I've got it up on the YouTube channel yet, Park. So I'm doing stop and go with Tommy, but as you stop and go where you're asking them to stand, and they don't walk off again until you ask them to move off. That is called park as well. So stop or park. So your park is where you have your horse actually standing, whether it's you get to the stage where you can have your horse stand at their stop, which is park in equitation science words, and then go, just say you're in the arena and walk away 10-20 meters and they don't move, or you're going and putting up some cross rails or something. So that's the goal that you want to achieve, such a park where it's very, very consolidated in what they call proof levels, so you can be anywhere and your horse will stand there until they're asked to move forward. So it's a sign that, I mean, you're obviously not going to be at that stage yet, because that takes quite a while to get there. There's a training, so in equitation science, when you're training your basic responses of your stop and you go and your turn and you're yielding the hindquarters in hand and under saddle. Okay, so they're the responses we're training. And then what we have is a shaping scale. So there's basic detempt where and your obedience level, where you are first training it and it's not going to be really nice and light. And then you go up to obedience level where they start responding to light pressure. That in your first if you want, just say for example, when you ask in a head collar and lead rope, you ask them to slow down by light pressure, they then slow down and stop. And then you go up to your straightness level, all the way up to proof level, where you can be anywhere on your property in all different areas, and you ask your horse to stop and park and they don't move until you ask them again. Bailey, oh my gosh. Bailey, I think there's a mouse in the house somewhere and they're going a little bit crazy. So that's like working up through your training scale, similar to if you do dressage, the German training scale that we learnt in our, I don't know if you've done dressage and show jumping lessons way back. I remember we went through it. And also too, I've done the EFA level 1 coaching. We went through the German training scale. But it's a similar, it's not the same as the German training scale, but it's a similar concept. You have a training scale to work up with what you're teaching with your horse. So, and we look back and we think, well, where are we with our horses at the moment? Are we at basic detempt, where they're standing there, but they're not stopping lightly? Obedience level is when they're stopping to your light responses, your light aids. And so with Laura, with your mare, she's moving. So when you've got her standing and you go to put the head collar on, she's moving as you go and put your head collar on. So number one, you need to work at consolidating your stop and your park response. So stopping and standing, and where I do, and I've got lots of videos, particularly with Ty and a couple of horses actually that I'll be uploading and putting into our other platform, where you can then, they're standing, but then you can walk away from your lead rope, still have them on the lead rope, but you can step away and walk around them and they're not moving. So that's something to do as well. I'll upload some videos showing you what I'm doing there. So you're gradually developing their stop response in their park to moving further away from them on the lead rope. And then this can go with your lunging. This is how we move up and start developing, start lunging our horse. So we start off with in hand with the head collar and lead rope. And as we consolidate our basic responses, so then we can then move further away from them. And this is how liberty work and that, your free liberty work happens. You start off in hand first, and then you can develop it to free lunging and libertying work. But once again, that's a fair process, and particularly with an off the track thoroughbred who's had extensive many years often being in an industry where they're working and taught with completely different, in a different way. They habituate to a lot of pressure aids, but your stop and go response is definitely not, they don't stop lightly at all. And if anything, as I said many times before, they lean into pressure in racing, and they're taught to lean into pressure, particularly in their gallops and in when they're racing and working at full speed. So let's go back to Laura here. I need another sip of coffee here. So that's what's happening is number one, working on your stop response. The next thing now, so just going through, as soon as I am still training the stop and go response. So now she's being very cheeky and not letting me put the halter on. But now I'm going to go back to the treats. Now I'm not against treats at all. This is positive reinforcement. So your treat is a positive reinforcement. When they do something right, you give them a positive, a treat or a scratch on the wither or things like that. Now, I'm not really up to date with. I haven't done a lot of positive reinforcement training myself. And still learning that. So your negative reinforcement, so horses learn in different ways. They learn by association. So negative reinforcement is your pressure release. Okay, so you ask for something, and it's always kind. So this is never punishment like when we're using our dressage whip. It's just a little irritation of a tap on the side if we're asking them to go forward with little taps on the side. But negative reinforcement is not bad. It's negative in that we remove something away. So you ask your horse to come forward by head collar pressure, okay, and as soon as they step forward, you release the pressure. So we're taking away the pressure, and that is how they learn. As soon as they do give you the right response, you remove the pressure, and they've learnt by association that if they do this, the pressure goes away. Now, positive reinforcement is once they've done something, and combined reinforcement is really, really good. So this is the best way to be able to train horses is combined reinforcement. So having negative reinforcement and then adding positive reinforcement to it, such as with a scratch. I love the tactile reinforcement when it comes to positive reinforcement. So they've done something correct, you remove the pressure, and then you give a with a scratch. You can then attach that with a verbal reward of good girl or good, and the with a scratch. For food, I'm not big on food. Once again, I probably don't know enough about how to do positive reinforcement and clicker training. Well, I don't know clicker training and that with food. I've found with myself, I've used food with some horses and they do get very preoccupied. Their arousal levels heighten because horses are very food orientated and they go looking for it. I feel like for me, it distracts them. And I don't use food in my training, particularly in the beginning. So I feel like when you're training at this basic level, you're training your basic responses. I personally wouldn't recommend using food and the positive reinforcement with food treats and things like that, because we're really teaching them. The first thing you teach your off the track thoroughbred is to give to pressure. Okay, so they're just going to be a little bit preoccupied when it comes to food. So I would think that the food is probably maybe distracting her and making her move and look for it. It's exciting her. It's raising her arousal levels. So I would remove the food, and you can do things like I love with the scratching. Horses are very tactile. Often off the track thoroughbreds will need to be taught to enjoy touch. But once they are enjoying some scratches and touch, if you find a scratchy spot on her body, you know how they can give that funny sort of mouth thing, or they twitch turn their head when they're enjoying a scratch. I much prefer to use tactile scratching and caressing, finding their scratchy spots as positive reinforcement compared to food. I also feel like I've got a off the track thoroughbred that was quite abused in racing. He then went to a good trainer, but then he was rehomed to a very, very detrimental home after racing, which really he ended up in the doggers. Basically, he ended up in Shep Meets, which was really, really sad. And when he came to me in June 2018, and this is my little snippy, and he just did not like. I couldn't when I went to go and get him in the paddock, and I haven't actually retrained him as yeah. I know he's done cross country and that. He had a very good trainer before he ended up in a very detrimental situation after that. So he's been out doing cross country. So he has had a life after racing. This was with the trainer actually. She was a jumps trainer. And he was very loved there, but he so it's not so much the retraining he needs, as far as I know, but his experience for 2 or more years after he left this trainer, he did have a very bad start in racing. He was educated, I would say the old school breaking in, and that apparently wasn't good at all. He came from a very horrible trainer from his first start in racing to a good trainer, and then ended up in a very not good home, where he was hit around the head, and I think it was more ignorance and a young person that didn't understand what was happening, and didn't do the right thing by him, and let let her emotions out on him in a frustrated, aggressive way. This is from what I've heard has happened. He came to me and he was very traumatized. He was in terrible. He was skinny. He was terrible. Chronic windsucker, like he windsucked so badly. And he was shut down. But you could see he had a very negative association with people. I've gone off, sorry, Laura, I've gone on a little tangent here, because this is all to do with food retreats. But I wanted to connect with him, and it just wasn't going to happen. As soon as I went to go, he just walked away from me. He didn't want me to catch him in the paddock. I couldn't really catch him. I could see when he was with me, his whole body, body language was, his head was turning away, and he wanted to get away from me. He just didn't want anything to do with me. He had a very negative association with people. There was just like, nah, I don't trust you. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't like humans. And literally it has taken years to, and I haven't even actually brought him into work as such. June 2018 to 19 is 1 year, 19 to 20 is 2 years, 3 years, just over 3 years. Now, this is just him coming into yards and being fed and being with the herd situation. I have a lot of horses. Gradually I get up, I've been working with them. I've been very busy with clients' horses over these last few years, and also track work and things like that. I'm now in a situation where I'm putting a lot more focus on my own horses, which is wonderful. But I tried food, so going back to the food rewards. So I thought, you know what, I wonder if I can get him, and he is very food orientated. So as soon as he realized that I had treats, I would go up to the paddock. As soon as he realized, oh, she's got treats, okay, he would come up and he would eat the treats. And I thought, I'll associate him with something positive, associate him with me having treats. And it worked, because he would come up to me when I had the treats. But then as he had the treats, it's like it still didn't, I felt like, and then if I didn't have the treats, he didn't want anything to do with me again. So I felt like it was not breaking through those and working with all this trauma that he had with his associations with people, and the negative experiences and responses he's had. So I just didn't feel like the treats worked with me with a horse like this. So this is just going back to, now, I'm not saying treats don't work. I just feel like that they need to be used correctly. And from my personal experience, I feel like the treats need to come in further down the line, when you've already retrained the basic responses to obedience level, got them stopping and going with pressure release really nicely, and being able to control their legs. And then you can bring in the treats if in clicker training and doing all those things, which personally I myself am learning more about at the moment. So I can't speak a lot on that. Also, with working with traumatized and off the track thoroughbreds generally, I just feel like that teaching them to enjoy touch is really important. They have what is called a detachment, because they've entered racing so young, and they're living in a very isolated environment. Even though they can be in very busy stables, they live isolated, so they're in individual stables. From a yearling, they come into racing, or from yearling prep, basically they're stabled and paddocked individually, so they don't get to experience that tactile touching what they need. Like as humans ourselves, we're social animals, as horses are social animals, so they need that physical touch, and they don't get to experience that in racing because they're very expensive. You want to keep them individually stabled for many reasons. um, for safety, for feed, making sure that they get their individual feeds, um, keeping them injury free, convenience as well. I mean, that's another story in itself, why racehorses are individually stabled. The good thing is, some stables, and this is where I think adding ethical, changing environments for horses where they're individually stabled, is having yards and that. And I have worked for one trainer where you take down so they could reach over and touch each other over the it's like there's brick yards. One trainer that I've worked for has yards where they can go out of their stable and the horses can reach over the wall and touch each other. So that's fantastic. If they can get that and be able to touch and mutually groom each other, that's a wonderful way to still give them the opportunity to physically interact with each other. And they need that. Now, when they don't have that, they get what is called detachment, and it happens in people as well. So we need to work through that. So often an off the track thoroughbred won't like to be touched, and Snippy was one very good example of this. But I think it was more with him, it was very much trauma related. Now, this has taken me years to work through Snippy, and basically what I did, having multiple horses, like 19, and working through them, and some are recovering from tendon injuries, time, and that. I sort of, with Snippy, I've first of all, he's living in a herd situation, so he's learning to interact with other horses. He's in a herd situation, so that was very healing for him. And then the food didn't work, so gradually, bit by bit, bringing him in. And really, for me, what I've found with Snippy is realizing that building up positive associations and experiences on top of many years of trauma and negative experiences. I mean, in amongst that trauma of negative experiences, he has the good experiences of being with the trainer that he was with. And he's still got those, like, those experiences never go. But with horses, unfortunately, when they learn fear, their fear responses, they learn really fast, and they're really deeply ingrained. So they'll never go. But what we can do and this is so common with off the track thoroughbreds, with thoroughbred racehorses, they've had a lot of negative experience associated with pain and fear and stress and anxiety. And we need to that's always going to be there in their memory bank. Horses will never forget. But what we need to do is then build a positive memory, like a library of positive experiences for them on top of that, so that the negative ones generally go further back, so they're not pulled out of the memory bank, and they're not bringing them up to the forefront to react to. If they can just go back and back and back and continually building up new experiences for them that are positive. That's sort of what we're doing. I don't know how I got on this from food retreats, but I have. So I'm just talking about how food retreats didn't work with Snippy. I just didn't feel like that I was getting anywhere, and it was like a superficial cover-up. I'm not saying food retreats are bad. It's just I think they need to be used in the right circumstances. And once you've already taught pressure release, I mean, I'm going with Snippy, for instance, I'm working with a trauma related with an animal that I can feel that is just, it doesn't want anything to do with you. And you can feel, like I can feel in their body, in that you can just feel the stress in their body, and the trauma that's all encased in the body. This is in so many horses, you can feel that. But I was just working with Snippy yesterday, and once again, I actually haven't brought him into physical training yet, but just bringing him in and brushing him, and I'm like, wow, just looking at the difference in his eye. I now have no issue catching him in the paddock. He'll come up to me because now he knows to come in the yard, but I haven't used physical treats. It's been years of just knowing that he's out in the paddock, he's with other horses, he knows he comes in with me. I have never, ever, once, ever raised, or I mean, I just never raised my voice or been, I don't be aggressive with any of my horses. There's never once that he has an opportunity to associate me with a negative experience. So this is just going back, Laura, to um, I'm always very calm in my manner, positive and kind. She does take advantage of it. So she's not taking advantage of it. There's nothing. So that's not the reason she's doing this, because horses aren't thinking, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this kind person. That's not the reason. There is no problem at all with you being kind and positive in your manner. That is perfect. It's more about realizing how horses learn. They learn by association. So what we need to look at. So I'm going to go back to what's happening here in a very long roundabout way of what I'm doing. There's something happening. So it's not a matter of her taking advantage of it. Now, when I say sometimes you need to be firm with a horse, this is going back to not firm. So you always want to be objective. So think of how you are coming across in your emotions. You don't never want any aggressive type of feeling. So for instance, just say you've got a horse, and I have got an off the track thoroughbred that'll want to jump over the top of me. He takes a fright and he wants to jump, or you're teaching your stop and go response and they're wanting to push and lean into you and rub you. Now I've got a video here with Tommy. So I'm asking him, and now I just have to increase my pressure with my stop response, asking him to step back, okay, in his self carriage. So you'll see this. I've got some YouTube videos with Tommy, or with the go forward response. You may need to increase your little taps in frequency, just in fast taps, and then if they don't respond, maybe a little bit firmer. But there's nothing aggressive about this. This is just an increase in intensity until they stop and then release. There's no aggressive sort of like get it back or shaking the lead or anything like that. It's all very objective, staying calm in your presence. And this is a skill. It really is a skill to be able to stay calm and not frustrated. Very much, I look back to my many years of frustration coming up in training, and it's because I didn't know what to do. And I felt like a failure and all of this. Like, I've been there. Like, I know how it can feel. I've been there, and it's, training horses, and I really think off the track thoroughbreds and going through the retraining process is and just learning how to train ethically in general is such a psychological, it's like a good training to teach us as humans as emotional controlling our emotions, not in stuffing them down, but in maturity, emotional control and emotional maturity. I really think that horses are a wonderful teacher for teaching us emotional maturity. I wanted to find a word for that. I was thinking of that yesterday, and I don't think it's emotional control, because we don't want to stuff down our emotions, but it's emotional maturity, and not venting out our frustrations on another person, another living being, particularly an animal or a child, where they're vulnerable, they're depending on us. If we vent out our emotions to our partner, and that's going to happen. I don't have a partner, but as an adult, independent adult, we have the opportunity to be able to deal with it and go, okay, well, they've lost the plot, I'm going to remove myself. Whereas animals will completely behave in a completely different way from fear, or they associate that. So I'm trying to say, you never want to have that association for your horse to associate you with fear or aggression or pain or something negative. So it's not that your horse is taking advantage of you, it's that something's happening here. So this is why a video would be really good. So I think the treat, so she's anticipating the treat, so she's moving her legs. So let's go back to breaking it down to these small steps. The first thing you do is you train your horse off the track thoroughbred to give to pressure. We're teaching them to give to pressure, and we are teaching them so that we can have control of their movements and their legs. We need that for safety. We need that for clear communication between our horse and ourselves. So you'll see horses interact in a herd situation. Their communication between themselves is silent. It's through body language. It's being able to, they control each other's movements. If a horse is eating you know, their hay and another horse comes up, they're going to turn around and they're going to put their ears back and look at them and ask them and shoo the other horse away. So can you see they're controlling the other horse's movement? They're asking the horse to step away, or they're telling the horse to step away. I mean, so if you take away our vocal language and you observe the horse in silence, there's very little. There's no. They only whinny for, you know, very rarely will you hear a horse whinny, and that's particularly. I think I remembered there was some reasons that they'll whinny out, but we'll go into that. But generally, all their communication is a silent communication, and we need to be aware that horses are pick up our very subtle movements that we're making that we're not even aware of, but they're picking up. So what's happening here? So I would say, first of all, is your mare's arousal level. So she's anticipating the treat. She's wanting the treats. Okay, so she's moving her legs. So remember, where stop and go is controlling her legs. Okay, we're teaching her to stand and to go, and responding to our aids. Now she's looking for the treat, so she's probably moving with anticipation of the treat. So I recommend I wouldn't be using treats, and instead I would be going back to just your clear retraining with negative reinforcement, the stop and go. Once you've got that really good, then as I said, we can bring in the treats and physical, like your positive reinforcement as tactile scratching on the wither, and that I would recommend the scratching on the wither over treats. Now what's happening here as well, as soon as I try to stand next to her, she backs up. So this is how subtle they can learn. So a horse learns by association. I hope this is not confusing, but you're saying here, as soon as I try to stand next to her, she backs up. So let's break it down. You are moving forward to her and she's backing up. So what's happening? And I would say, as soon as you move forward to her, she's backing up. She is learning that as you move forward to her and she backs up, you stop. So you can see how this is how we have to break it down. So she has learnt that if she backs up, you stop moving forward to her. That's how you have to look at it. And this is going back into how do you catch a horse. Okay, so a difficult to catch horse in the paddock. It's called advance and retreat method. So you don't want to be moving. You don't want to. You want to stop before the horse moves away, and that goes into how we catch a difficult to catch horse in the paddock. It's called advance and retreat. So I won't go into that because I'll get sidetracked again. But what I want to, so I'd say what's happening is, so because she's not in the paddock, so she's obviously not hard to catch. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. As soon as I stand next to her, she backs up. So you've got the situation as soon as you're going to stand. So soon you're standing next to her, she's backing up, and then you would stop. So she has learnt that when you are walking towards her to stand next to her, she's moving away. So she's learnt that as soon as you're coming to stand next to her, as soon as you move towards her, she backs up and you stop. So she's learnt that if she moves away and backs up, you stop. Okay, so she's learnt that. So we need to correct that. She will also block me with her head and walking left and right, so I'm unable to stand beside her. Okay. So you can't get to standing beside her. So what you need to do, so what's happening is she's learning that if she moves her head, so I presume you're sort of standing in front of her and you're trying to get the head collar on. So she has learnt that if she moves her head left and right, I'll stop my dogs from barking. Ruby, no barkies. No. If she moves her head left, okay, she has learnt that if she moves her head left, that is stopping you from being able to reach her to put the head collar on. So see how she's learnt that, oh, if I move my head left, Laura has stopped and she can't bring that head collar near me. If I move my head right, she can't bring her head collar near me. So she's learned that action that she does has a consequence of, so they learn by association. They learn that this action that I do has a consequence that, oh, I'm not going to get the head collar on. So it's positive reinforcement. Okay, so it's actually, by her repeating this behavior is reinforcing her behavior that when Laura goes to catch me, okay, I walk back and she stops and she can't get near me. So that's reinforcing the behavior. So I hope this makes sense. It's actually a positive reinforcement in a way, where and so the treats aren't working in this way. So what needs to happen here is we need to be able to, first of all, we need to be able to get next to her, okay, without her moving away. So is she in a yard? So obviously you can get close enough to her that you can, once you've got the head collar on her, so I'd say that you're in a yard and she's not difficult to catch. So the first thing I would do is I would remove the treats. Okay, the treats are just going to make things more difficult, and I would go back to your stop and go. So approaching a horse, I think you're actually having the difficult to catch situation here, which I need to go through a process to teach you this. But first of all, the first thing is I wanted to be clear of what's happening is she's learnt that when you go to catch her and she moves back, her moving back is reinforcing that you can't catch her. So we need to stop that. So I would go back to removing the treats and approaching her. So being able to go near her. So first of all, approaching her from more of a side angle. So not approaching her head on or at her head. So approaching her at a side angle to her shoulder. Okay, if you can do this, and this is what I really, so she can't, I'll do a video on this today. Let me do a video on this today of how to approach a horse by a side angle. So I wouldn't approach her by the head on where she's blocking you. Instead, I would go more towards her shoulder, okay, and approach her at her shoulder and come to her where you're at her shoulder, and then you can go to put the head collar on. So she can't block you with her head. Okay, so once you're there, so a really good way is if you can get up to her shoulder and approach her from the shoulder angle, and then you can give her a scratch on the wither, say good girl, and also too teaching her to lower her head. So I've got a video on the YouTube of being able to teach your horse to lower their head. It's going to be quite, we have to go through, as I said, we need to break up and see what's happening here, but we need to go back to, first of all, not putting her in the situation where she can block her head, and not putting her in the situation where she can walk away. Okay, so if you're approaching her and she looks like she's going to walk away, stop. Okay, so try and stop before she's even thinking of walking away, and it's sort of like gradually getting up to her before she moves away. I think that is another video in itself, because this one is going quite long in our Q&A here. So Laura, what we need to do is first of all remove the treats, okay, and go back to teaching the stop and go, where you can step away from her, a little bit away from the lead, and having her stand there for a few seconds without moving her legs and going back. So reinforcing and working with your stop and go up to light responses. And then it sounds like you may be having a difficult to catch type of situation, so we can work with it in that way. So let me know if this video, what I'm talking about here, makes sense, and then we can move on from there. I think first of all we needed to get an understanding of what's happening, okay, and why there's problems. And it's definitely not that, it's not because you're being calm. and positive and kind in your manner. It's more that your mare is learning. She's reading you, and these behaviors are being reinforced by either her learning that when she backs up, you stop. Okay, and then when she moves ahead, you can't get to her. So it's more that there's certain actions that you're doing that's reinforcing her behavior in a positive way. I hope that makes sense. I'll probably leave it there with that. Let me know if this makes sense, Laura, and also too if you can follow up with a video of what's happening, and we can work on it in the video and work through how to solve this problem for you. Okay, I'll leave this Q&A there. Once again, a very warm welcome to all our new members in the group. I'll pop up a welcome post for you, and I will see you in our next weekly Q&A. I'll also keep an eye out for some new some posts on our new platform, the Off The Track Thoroughbreds Success Academy. There's a free and a paid version over there. So I will give you some more updates on that in the next over the next week. And yeah, I'll see you in next week's Q&A, and I'll also see you in the group beforehand. Okay, talk then. Bye.